Hey guys, it's Matthew from BeInfluence.com. Thanks for stopping by the YouTube channel. In today's episode, we're going to be going into a live interview that was conducted with Mike Andes and myself a couple weeks ago. Mike's a fantastic guy. He owns his own landscaping lawn care business that has done extremely well for himself. And he also is probably better known as the Business Bootcamp Podcaster. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this conversation. So let's just dive in right now because Mike is going to be able to tell you way more about his story than me.
So Mike, for everybody that doesn't know who you are, can you just give them like a quick little spiel? Because if you don't know who Mike Andes is in the Business Bootcamp Podcast, I mean, you're probably living under a rock by now. So.
Oh man. So my story is simple. I started college when I was 13 years old and was kind of on the track to becoming an academic. I wanted to become a doctor since I was a little kid. I love science, love anatomy, exercise, physiology. Like that was what I loved to do. And so I started college when I was 13 because I knew I'd be in school for a long time in order to become a cardiothoracic surgeon, which is what I wanted to be all my life. And so I started in that path when I was 13, and in order to get to college, my brother and I started a little lawn care business to fund our way through because our parents were never really had the funds we knew to pay our way through college. So we started a little lawn care business, and essentially I finished my undergraduate degree when I was 18 after going to Kenya for 6 weeks and volunteering at a clinic there, being able to do like minor surgeries. We did like birthing of children, just an incredible experience there and really getting like hands-on with healthcare there. And I came back to the US. I did lots of shadowing with different physicians, different types of specialties. And I just realized it wasn't for me. I didn't want to be in the same very specific specialty for the rest of my life, 30, 40 years, my whole career. And so, and more important, I didn't want all the legal ties and like red tape of the US healthcare system. And even today, like the whole healthcare bill that just got passed, and just all the red tape, all the insurance, and knowing that 80% of a physician's time is spent behind a keyboard doing paperwork for insurance and money purposes, and only a small percentage is actually spent helping people. Whereas when I was in Kenya, hands-on, being able to work with people, doing things that were just amazing, and really being able to see, actually seeing some fruits of your labor. And so I love that. And then to come back to the U.S. and just have to face the reality of another 8 years in school and a fellowship, and then being stuck in a specialty that I might not like in 10 years, that was really scary to me. So I started a lawn care business wait, what's the date? What's the date today?
May 4th.
Dude, man. So 3 years and 1 day ago, because it was May 3rd, 2014, I started, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this lawn care business big, because I didn't really know what else to do. Like I had done insurance sales for like a little bit when I was like 16. I was really good at it, but I wasn't passionate about it. I done credit card processing sales. I was good at it, but not really liking it. So it's like, I'm not going to go into medicine. I know that, even though I had like applied to medical school. Sorry, I missed what you said there.
You're not going to go to sales, by the sounds of it.
Well, I love sales. I love sales, but there was nothing I could get. Like, I didn't feel a part of insurance. Like, I felt like everyone else was selling the same thing. I was working for State Farm, and I felt like it didn't matter if you go to Farmers Insurance or Progressive or Allstate. Like, we all sold the same thing. I was just selling a commodity, and I didn't feel like I had ownership in the business. So anyways, I tried all that stuff. I love sales, by the way. I love marketing, but like it wasn't my cup of tea. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to take this lawn care business thing big. I bought out my brother out of our partnership in our lawn care business. And in the past 3 years have grown it to a company that makes over $100,000 a month in revenue. And so now we're franchising it. We like are wanting to go national and all that good stuff. And so, yeah. And then as far as the podcast, started that when I started my MBA. So in the evenings, I did my MBA, my Master's in Business Administration, while running my business. And so while I was doing that, I was like, hey, I'll start this podcast thing and kind of document my journey through school and running a business and kind of how I do all of that. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's just grown organically, and people can ask questions on how to start, grow, or save their business right from the website. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, so like you're a big inspiration for like a lot of people. So for people that are just maybe getting started out and they think to themselves, I don't know if I want to get into the lawn care business. I don't know if I should go into selling t-shirts, hats, or if I want to get into home automation. What is kind of like the tip that you give people to do when they're just getting started out, for people people that maybe are getting out of college or whatever the case is?
Yeah, so a lot of people say always follow your passion, and even though I do believe that your greatest successes will be on those things that you're passionate about because you don't mind working super hard and you're working 12, 16 hours a day because it doesn't feel like work if you're passionate about it. Although I think that's true, I think for people starting out, they have to find their pillar. They have to find where do they start their career. And so, for instance, like I'm not super passionate about lawn care, mowing services. I'm not passionate about like excavators. And like today we were doing like building a retaining wall. I'm not into that stuff. I know today we have a bunch of heavy equipment and trucks and dump trucks. Like I'm not like super inspired by heavy equipment and even like mowing. Like I'm not, but it's like the first pillar of the financial aspect of my career. It makes good money. It's something that I can grow with for the next 10 years. If we make it into a franchise, I sell out of that maybe in 10, 15 years and then go towards something I'm more passionate about. And I'll have the financial backing then at that point and the experience to actually make something worthwhile, because I'm still passionate about health. I'm still passionate about, the orphanages and things that I was over with in Kenya. And, I help them financially now, but like, as far as the medical aspect, that's my passion. And I know one day I'll get into something like biotech or a company that's in that field. I like technology and all of that. I'll get into something I'm more passionate about. But I think for people starting out to think that they're going to go and become, a millionaire doing the thing they love, and the thing they love is, collecting stamps, that might be a problem. And so what I would encourage people to do if they're just starting out is to go after the thing that's going to make them money. And that might seem really horrible and like capitalistic, but get the solid pillar financially so that it gives you the ability to go and, test things. So go taste things. Like if you don't know what you want to do, maybe it's not the best thing to go to college, or maybe it's a good thing to go try a few different businesses, go do some startups, like internships at startups, figure out what you want to do, and then maybe start a business from there. And that's what I encourage someone that's just starting out to do.
Yeah, exactly. Go test what you want. And like, it never hurts to even call a small business up that is in the space that you might be interested, right? Like just go volunteer, do your time, because at the end of the day, I mean, your time is worth nothing at that period, right? It's only when you actually are like building your business and you're actually making sales and you're doing the marketing and everything was where you can put a price on your valuation of your time, right?
Exactly.
So you actually have a book called The Millennial.
It's a tongue twister, man. It's a tongue twister.
The Millennial Millionaire. And you focus on a couple of different things in the book, like whether or not someone should go to college, which is something we just focused on. What do you give for someone that's thinking about how many paperbacks have you sold? I'm curious.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't ever look at the create space. Yeah, this is the book right here. I have no idea, actually. I know I get a check every couple weeks from Amazon, but I don't know what the numbers are. Because I self-published, right? So Amazon has the thing where you can go on to create space. That's what like the website is, and they send the royalties. I just get a check. I have no idea. I have to guess. I'm sure it's hundreds every month, but I don't know. I have no idea.
That's fantastic. So
sorry, I interrupted you. You're talking about my book.
No, dude. The thing you talk about in the book is whether or not you should go to college. What do you give for people like recommend towards that?
So
how do you know if college is right for you?
Right. So I went to college when I was 13. And I was the genius that was supposed to like finish my master's, then go become a doctor, become like the Doogie Howser, and like by 22, 23 be like a doctor cutting people open. And so I would say, as far as if someone wants to go to school, obviously if you're gonna become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, like you better go to school, because if I have an accounting problem, I better know that when I go to my accountant, he's gonna know how to do math. Like that's a real deal. And if you want to become a nurse, if I go into a hospital and you can't figure out my blood count and how to take my blood pressure, I'm gonna be really ticked off. So you should really go to school if you want to become those things. What I have a problem with, Matt, is when young people come out of school and they're 18, 19, whatever, and they go into the college system because what everyone else does, it's what their parents have done, and they go after something that they don't know what they want to do. especially like the most, in my opinion, the least valuable like degree right now is like business marketing, because it's becoming more and more prevalent that people aren't looking at those things. They're looking at your skills. They're looking at what kind of experience you have. And then what's even worse is like a political science major and you have no idea what you're doing, or like some random thing. Like now, if you're passionate about political science, if you're passionate about biology, and like, go for it, and go school. You're going to get a lot of contacts. And what school is good for is a good place to test things. So like I did a startup in my MBA program with one of my fellow students, like learned a whole lot, went to California, met a team, like really got deep into a startup, learned that like the food industry is horrible, like to get involved with. Like, so like it's a great place to learn those things, but unless you're going to like an Ivy League school, a business degree doesn't do you a whole lot besides give you a $40,000 in debt. And I think personally, I've hired people, but more importantly, other people that are hiring from corporations, they're looking for people who know things. Like I promise you, if you go from 18 to 22 to college, okay, and you get a business degree and you go 40K in debt, okay, take that. That's like number one. Now take the second guy who doesn't go to college, works 4 years at a startup that starts at zero and grows to like $50 million in revenue over the course of those 4 years. Not only has that person probably got more money now because they probably got some sort of equity as part of being an employee that's really early startup, but secondly, like let's say that startup fails. Like after 4 years, they fail. Like the stock market falls or the investor drops out, they don't raise money, whatever. And that startup fails, you're like, well, that's horrible. Now what do you do? Well, you have a lot of experience, 4 years of working with an early stage startup that goes from 0 to 50 million or whatever. If you go to Silicon Valley and you move there, or you go to some tech startup or wherever you're passionate about, and you work for 4 years, get incredible experience, I promise you're more valuable than that first guy who comes out of school that has a little piece of paper that says, hey, I took these classes. You'd be a whole lot more valuable to say, hey, I was part of a company that was making $50 million in revenue, and I was the head of 10, like I was reporting to the CEO, and I had 10 people underneath me, and we did X, Y, and Z. Like to an employer, that's money in the bank. If you're going to become a business owner, that's a way more valuable than going to school and learning about like, I don't care, ratios and all that garbage.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, because like the common question during every interview process, or if someone's looking to recruit you, they always ask is, what can you bring to the table, right? And if you're able to say, like, you have to differentiate yourself from everybody else, is what you're saying essentially, because every other person that's going through school and 22 years old and graduates wants $100,000 when they graduate. But then always the same question comes back to, what is the thing that you can bring to this company? What is like the solutions, right? And if you're not able to do that, like what you're saying is that it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Exactly. And two, like, you don't have to necessarily be a business owner to be an entrepreneur. Like even if you're going to be going to corporate America, like they are looking for people who are entrepreneurial. So like you look at the Googles and the Apples, the people who really succeed in those environments are the people that are entrepreneurial in spirit, not necessarily owning your own business. So there's people out there that, like right now, the entrepreneurial thing is like cool and like hot and everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Like for some people, they have entrepreneurial DNA, but they do better in a corporate environment and just use those entrepreneurial tendencies to help promote that corporation instead of starting their own thing. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, I think a lot of people think, oh, I got to start my own thing, or like be the next Facebook or be the next tech startup, when necessarily that's not the case. You can be an entrepreneur within a corporation and become a C-level executive and really make more money even that way. And that's entrepreneurship.
Well, maybe even if you're a young person and you know that DNA about yourself, maybe that's a better path, because maybe you're not a subject to risk. You probably value your sleep a lot more and everything else, right? So maybe working for someone else would probably be a lot better suit.
Exactly. And like when you talk about risks too, like when it comes to people going to college, this is the thing. Like, what's more risky? A, going and working for another company and getting experience, doing something like in an industry you love. Like this is one place.
For the full podcast, check it out on our website at beinfluence.com or search Be Influenced on iTunes.